Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Hello, hello. Welcome to our yearly broadcast this year, the year 2025, the year of pushing the bounds of possibility in a time of tumultuous change. So we're doing our Energies and Opportunities yearly broadcast today here, December 7th, 2024. We're delighted to have you with us. Welcome, welcome. So just a brief intro for those of you who may be joining us for the first time. I'm Carola Eastwood.
And I'm Chetan Parkin.
And we're evolutionary human design. So we work with human design in a way that supports our clients and students in their awakening and evolution process. I would say that's the distinction between how we work and perhaps others. So that's a little bit about us. As I said, we're delighted to have you with us. Every month we produce this broadcast in order to keep you up to date on all the relevant trends and the changes and the challenges and the opportunity cycles that are coming up throughout the year. So we do that on a monthly basis, but then once a year we produce our yearly broadcast. So here we are today. We'll be sharing news of the most significant cycles to expect during the entire upcoming year of 2025. And we're extending an invitation for those of you who have not taken advantage of our pre-sale of our Energies and Opportunities program of 2025. It's being offered at a discount during our pre-sale, a 25% discount during our pre-sale. So we really highly encourage you to take a look at it and join us. It is one of our most high value programs for the lowest investment amount that we have on offer. And it's something that supports you every day throughout the year. So you'll get a full year of day-to-day guidance showing you specifically how to make the most of the energies of every month and every week and every day. And so you get that whole year in advance with this program. Just take a look. If you go to our website, evolutionaryhumandesign.com/energies-opportunities, evolutionaryhumandesign.com/energies-opportunities. You'll find it also. You can just go to our website and find it on the trainings tab on the top bar. Okay, so over to you, shall we?
Well, we've described this year. It took us a while to work out the title for how we describe 2025. Pushing the bounds of possibilities. That basically means expanding our beliefs beyond anything that we can previously imagine. And in a year of tumultuous changes. So it's been nice knowing you. And no, seriously, it's going to be an amazing year. But honestly speaking, there are so many things that are going to come up, so many potentials to have our buttons pushed and upset. And, it's like squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. There's all kinds of different things that are going to show up in all kinds of different ways. And the most important thing, of course, for all of us is to maintain our own personal balance in this, to not get swept away with things. But in a sense, the beginning of the year, it's like so many things changing so quickly. And there are bound to be mistakes in it all. There are bound to be some extraordinary new qualities that represent our world. So Carola and I are going to take you through what we see happening in 2025. Hang on to your hats. It's a wild year.
Yeah,
and yeah, there's so many opportunities as well in all of this as well. So just be aware of this at the same time.
So let's get the overview. It's really a pivotal year, as you'll see. We had an interesting experience as we were doing our research to prepare for today's broadcast. I was looking back through some of my notes from some of the previous years of our yearly broadcast and went back to a statement that we made in December of 2021. It got my attention. It's here, I'm quoting myself now. Major transformation. America may lose its position as the top world power. The US needs to revisit its founding principles and update the application of those principles for the 21st century. Failure to do so could bring a global crisis. So we were seeing this back in late 21 going into 2022. And looking back now, I can see, yeah, that's exactly right. We had a few years where we maybe could have turned things around and made this transition a bit easier. But anyway, onward. Here we go. We're in for a year of major transformation this year. Basically, we're just arriving at this point in time where humanity is really on the dawn of the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius has begun. And we've just about reached a tipping point in our evolutionary, in the stage of evolution we were in to get to the next stage of evolution. So it just that tipping point is that point where transformation could happen. It's that possibility of taking a jump, taking a leap. And so much of what we saw in the energies of this year are about that, just pushing the bounds of possibility, like going beyond what we thought was possible before. So we're going to see a lot of that. So let's look at let's look at what happens when we start 2025. So we begin the year with the planet that has to do with our work or our business in life, Mars. And we start the year with Mars in retrograde motion. And it's in the really highly creative fire sign of Leo. It actually started its retrograde motion 6 degrees of Leo yesterday. So here we are, newly sitting in this Mars retrograde. Well, it's something that happens. Mars goes retrograde once every 2 years. What's unique about this one is that it occurs at the start of the year. So at the time when the energy just following the winter solstice and the energy's rising and we're at the beginning of a new year, we're entering it with the energy to move forward, moving backwards.
A little contrary.
Yes. So, it may bring us up short a bit, as we're used to sort of forging ahead in a new year. But it's really about taking a pause with what we're doing and looking at and taking another deep look so that we're clear in all the choices that we make in what we're doing in the way that we do our work or make a living. So, as I said, it happens once every 2 years, but this is more of a significant one because since we start the year that way, what it does is it kind of colors the whole year. So in a sense, the entire year of 2025 is going to be about, to some degree or another, going back and seeing, old patterns or old ways of working or moving forward in life, just not working anymore and needing to find new ways. So and also the Mars stays retrograde all the way through all of December and all of January and all of February until February 25th. So it's a really, really long transit. So we'll have a good opportunity to really take a look at what's meaningful for us in our work and what we wanted to carry forward in the coming year. So the other thing, a big prevailing theme in 2025 is the entrance of the planet of transformation, Pluto, in the sign of Aquarius. So it's been in Capricorn since 2008. And during its transit of Capricorn, Pluto's the planet of transformation. During its transit of Capricorn, it's been upending all the systems, the political systems, financial systems, medical healthcare systems, legal systems, educational systems. Basically, all of our systems came into question. And as you can see, they're all in various stages of upheaval or transformation, positive transformation. So all the systems needed to change. Now we're moving into Pluto in Aquarius, and where it'll be until, I think, what is it, 2035? 2034, 2035. Yeah. So it's a whole new, the transformation we're going through now is about, how do we live as one humanity, because we, more and more becoming one world, aware of everything that's happening in the world all the time, everybody.
You mean we
so
have to learn
connected.
to get along with each other?
Yeah, I mean, we have to learn to get along with each other. The age of Aquarius, the age of brotherhood, sisterhood. So, it's going to be transforming our experience of humanity for the well-being of all. It's a really highly significant theme for the year, and this will be Pluto's first year in Aquarius. And the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, America was steeped in the fighting that resulted from the Declaration of Independence.
What, you mean getting rid of the British?
Yes, getting rid of you and your tea. Yeah, anyway. So here we are again now, entering into the age of Aquarius, Pluto going into Aquarius. What is the transformation that's, possible for us now? It's the signature aspect of the coming new year. And partially because the way that the year starts is that Pluto's gone into Aquarius, but the planet Mars, which we know is now retrograding, is in Leo. So it's opposing, it's exactly opposite Pluto and Aquarius. So we've got Pluto and Mars opposite each other. This is a really intense kind of aspect that's calling for big, wholesale transformation of the way that we express ourselves, the way that we do our work, the way we share our assets and abilities and wisdom with each other. So it's really big. It's about, we're going to be looking at how to realign our work in a way that brings balance between, having a profitable business or satisfying work that pays well and having a life. So, we'll be working on rebalancing for quite some time. There's also going to be, of course, huge technological innovations because the world is just changing at this unprecedented rate right now. What do you say?
Well, coming into the merry month of January, as Carol has said, Mars in a retrograde motion, so we're having to reconsider our way of doing things entirely. It's just fascinating at this time we're making this broadcast that several governments in the world, they're suddenly in trouble, big trouble. The Korean president is being fired, impeached. The French government has had a collapse. The German government's had a collapse. The Romanian government's in trouble. They're having to redo their whole election again. Hungary, the same kind of issue going on there. So there's a general consensus in the world. We've had the same experience in America. It's time for something different. We can't carry on in this same old way. And so democracy is being reinvented. Now, this thing of Pluto in Aquarius, I mean, as Carola was saying, the last time this was going on, there was the Boston Tea Party, there was the insurrection in the United States, trying to get rid of the British. And I say getting rid of the British, but actually trying to get rid of the king, trying to get rid of that sole presence and move on into a republic. And so America is still, to this day, a republic. And sure enough, it will revert to one. But there is this moment in time now where we're having to go through the motions again of just seeing, how important it is to have one person at the top that can decide everything. So it's a very fascinating time. America is having a second revolution. Let's hope this time it's a consciousness revolution. And, America has been very much in these last years going outwards, going to all kinds of places in the world, resolving all kinds of people's issues and stuff, quite often chasing after oil and things like that. But it's had a very outgoing influence. And as Carola was saying, she recognized this thing where actually this is coming to an end and America is going to become much more inward looking. And the thing with that is, you might say, well, great, has America reached the peak of its possibilities? And what happens when an empire starts going inwards? Well, you look at places like India, you look at places like China, like Japan, when the whole culture turned around and went inwards, the level of spirituality took off massively. And it seems like now it's America's turn to do that. And so my whole sense for America in these years coming is America now is going to be the place where the next big jump in consciousness takes place. And I have a lot of faith in that. I don't think it's going to be an easy transition by any manner of means, but I do see that as the eventual outcome. America will triumph in this regard. And again, lead the world in a very, very different way as we go into the Aquarian age, as Carola describes, brotherhood and sisterhood. So the main things that I see as we get into January is the action between Jupiter and Neptune, and it's through this channel, the 3536. This is the channel that Ra called transitoriness. I call it the channel of versatility. It's basically a manifesting channel, emotional manifesting. And when I was going squirrel, 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 it was like, what we're going to be offered in this year are all kinds of different opportunities, things of great excitement. And the whole question is, are they going to be enduring or not? Or is it just a flash in the pan? You know, there's something interesting for 5 minutes. And the great thing in all of this is for us to maintain a balance. There can be a very short attention span with this particular channel, and you put all your energy into it, only find out there was a lost cause. There was nothing at the end of it. So just to see, this is a major part of the energy. First 3 months of the year, we're going to have a lot of exposure to this particular channel. Come the 20th of the month, the Sun and Pluto combine each other together, and this is the 60th hexagram and the 6th line, and I see it as quite significant. You know, the 20th of January apparently is this point in time where there's a transition of government in the United States. And I'm just going to read you the line from the Book of Lines. By the way, just been released again in a new edition, available on Amazon, the Book of Lines. And it's full of all kinds of fun things in the back of the book now. The 60 line 6, being idealistic, balancing between indulgence and unreasonable restraint. You know that any excessive restraints imposed on you and others will meet with resentment. And if I get anything about the government coming in America, there's going to be a lot of things that just get moved out altogether. Unreasonable restraint, we're being held back here, there's too many rules and regulations, too much red tape, gone. So, you know, this is the kind of something of the sense of what's happening with this transitional government. A few days later, we have Pluto go into gateway number 41, and as Carol has described, this is an extraordinary time. Pluto going into Aquarius, and for the next odd years, what is it, at least 10 years?
No, it's 15.
15 years,
15 years.
in Aquarius.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the echo of this again, well, America didn't sort itself out overnight. It took a number of years, and this is the mirroring of those years where America reinvents itself as a republic. And the 41 is this gateway. It's a gateway in the I Ching that's called decrease. And the image here, because all things in the I Ching come from images, all pictograms, and the images, it's the depth of winter. It's too cold to go outside. You know, the pantry is almost empty of all the food you've just set by. You know, you're shivering in the cold. You're putting the last piece of wood on the fire. You know, and it's the bleakest time of the year. And it's like, surely the spring must be coming. Surely life goes on. And so it's the gateway of great imagination, of just seeing, okay, new experience coming up, new year coming up, new possibilities coming up. What do we plan for ourselves? What's the vision that we hold for ourselves? And so as Pluto goes into that 41 with the first line on the 29th of January, we're all kind of holding our breath to see, what can we really envision for ourselves in this year coming? The line is called moderating, finding the balance between giving and receiving. And that is going to be quite a bit of a watchword for the year. It's like, where is this balance? What do I give? What do I receive in return? And just see, is it equitable? The big shift at the end of the month, the nodes move out of the 25 and the 46. When I talk about nodes, I'm talking about the destiny path for humanity. The north node goes into the 36. I mumbled about the 36 just now because Neptune's in the 36. And the 36, with Neptune, it has really been challenging our beliefs for these last few years. What's right, what's not right, what works for us, what doesn't. And even to the point of our religious and spiritual beliefs, you know, reevaluating all of that. And so when the node shifts, it goes into this 36, which is the gate that in the Chinese I Ching, darkening of the light. And so, you know, the darkening of the light basically means there's a potential crisis. We don't know where we're going. Everything's up in the air. What do we do? And, you know, one can peer into the dark and imagine, you know, what's supposed to come, what's supposed to happen. I've never been here before. How am I going to get through this? And then we remember the light's in us. We are the light, right? There is always a way through. I don't care what the obstacle is, the complication, the compromise, the roadblock. There is always a way through. And it's just that thing of coming to one's own trust in oneself and just seeing, okay, the light looks getting a bit dark. I better turn up the light in myself a little bit. So that's the kind of beginning of the year. That's how I see the beginning of the year. There's a lot of things up in the air for us, a lot of potential challenges, a lot of challenges for everybody. But to not get rattled when it looks like there's too many squirrels around or too many things happening at once, too many drastic changes. What say you?
Yeah, I was going to start there too with the changing of the North Node, because it's very significant from astrological point of view too. So every 18 months or so, the North Node changes signs, and as Shaitan said, the North Node indicates it's the indicator within the astrological field of our soul path or our destiny path. So it's a place that we can see in our astrological chart the purpose for the life. So the North Node is like, it's kind of like our guiding light, or, you know, our true north, or, you know, it's what keeps us on our path in life. Okay. So it's been in Aries for the past 18 months. And there's been a lot of sort of forging ahead and forging ahead and forging ahead and forging ahead with all kinds of new things. But it's backed up into Pisces, or it will in mid-January. And as it does that, we have now a new 18-month period opening up it's really much more about seeing, you know, how we can, you know, leave behind old ways that don't really serve us anymore, how we can allow ourselves to follow the you know, the sort of inspiration of our spirit, and just allow our spirit to guide us through life. And we begin to see more and more that we do that. How life is this amazing orchestration, this amazing flow. So when we're moving from the North Node in Aries, which is all about getting things done, projecting yourself out there in the world and making things happen, and nothing wrong with that. But we've had enough of that now for 18 months. And so now it's time to be a bit more reflective and nurture our spiritual essence for the next year and a half. So that's sort of the theme that's flowing through the entire time. It's a really it's a year of so many planetary changes that, you know, the challenge is like how to get all this information in an hour to you. It's pretty phenomenal. A few days after Mars turns direct motion in February. So remember I said earlier that Mars turned retrograde yesterday, and it's going to continue in retrograde until all the way to February 24th. Well, a few days after Mars returns to direct motion, so we start the year with a backwards Mars, right? And just a few days after it turns to direct motion, then Venus goes into retrograde motion. And it'll continue. It starts at 11 degrees of Aries, and it's going to go for 6 weeks and back up into Pisces and not return to direct motion until April 13th. So we're going to have basically the entire beginning of the year until the middle of April, major retrogrades happening. So it's at the same time, there's a lot of energy that's wanting to break through and move forward and do new things and all kinds of new innovations and all of that. There's also this huge theme of slowing down, really looking, really making sure, going back over old ground and reassessing it, or learning from it, making, you know, deciding to make changes, that sort of thing. It's an okay time for planning, but it's not a time of just marching ahead. So a bit more introspection in terms of two big things, which is, one is our work in the world, or our profession, or our business, our career. And the other is our love life and everything that makes life easy and comfortable, money and beauty and love and romance and all the good things in life. So we have both of those planets starting the year in retrograde motion. And then we wind up the first quarter of the year in March with 2 eclipses. So if those of you who've been following this for a while, eclipses bring big changes. Usually if the eclipse is hitting a point close to in your chart, it's going to really, really strongly affect you. But really, we're all affected by eclipses because they just signal the organic kind of changes that we're naturally going through. So we've got a lunar eclipse on March 13th, 14th in some parts of the world at 24 degrees of Virgo. That's opposite the sun in Pisces. So that's challenging us to separate truth from fiction and get to the bottom of any issues with our health in a way that we can also use the energy to streamline our daily activities and get things a bit more organized around us. Virgo's good for that. So the need for that, and then we follow on with the solar eclipse on March 29th, and solar eclipse in Aries, about, I think, 9-10 degrees of Aries. So that's going to bring more internal challenges, changes that don't often play out in the world because they're more inner kind of how we feel about life or what we believe kind of changes. So they're kind of inner realizations. And this one at 9 degrees of Aries is going to challenge us in terms of both our desire and our willingness to take really appropriate action in an area of our life that now needs attention. So, our attention, the first part of the year, is going to be drawn to those areas that we need to put some focus on. And these 2 eclipses are going to keep us really aligned in that exploration. So essentially the first 3.5 months of the year and the entire first quarter of 2025 is going to be punctuated by this need to review some of the most significant aspects of our day-to-day lives, as well as the need to find new solutions and to let go of old patterns in work or let go of long-held beliefs about money, about our own intrinsic value, as well as challenging maybe any habitual patterns in relationship dynamics. So there's a lot to work through in the first 3.5 months of the year.
I'm just going to say a couple of things about the energies in February. I talked about the North Node destiny for humanity moving into the 36th, the gate of potential crisis or crisis resolution, the darkening of the light. I don't know where I'm going. It all looks very mysterious in front of me. And that goes on all the way into June, middle of June. So we're carrying that energy with us to strengthen our inner light when it looks like everything's changing beyond belief or the bounds of possibilities are going faster than we can realize. The other thing I want to draw attention to is the planet Uranus is transiting through all the gateways in the throat center. These are all the potentially manifesting gateways, all the ways we express things. And Uranus has a tendency to express things in a different way. We might say it's more fifth dimensional. Does this every 80 years? And we can just say there's going to be a whole new level of conversation going on in the world. We're going to be talking about all kinds of different things. We're going to be making all kinds of different communications. And within this context of breaking the bounds of possibility, we're going to find ourselves relating in all kinds of ways that we haven't done before. So fascinating in that regard. I talked about the planet Neptune going through gateway number 36. This is where we've been questioning our beliefs and our spirituality. And come the 10th of the month, it goes into gateway number 25. Gateway number 25 is the gateway of innocence. And, the great Socratic wisdom, the only thing I know is I don't know. And the 25 just drops us right back into that place of, wow, I wonder what it is that's going on here. And it's not like we're bereft of any kind of touch points at all, but it just means we have to reacquaint ourselves altogether. It's like we've been given all these religions, we've been given all these belief systems, we've been told all the historic stuff, And by the day, every day I'm reading about new discoveries of civilizations that vanished 2 million years ago on this planet. I mean, we're uncovering a lot of things that we hadn't been told about. So our belief systems are really up for grabs. And the beautiful thing about Neptune, love for love's sake, is the flavor of Neptune. Going into this gateway number 25, it's like we're all allowed to have a more childlike view of things again, right? Being adult and massively complicated, it's overrated. It really is. Where's the fun? And this really is. I mean, did we come here to have a boring time and just slave away at work and get a job? I mean, I've actually considered lately, all you have to do is put your money in crypto and go live on the beach somewhere. I say that in a joking way,
yes,
but it's that is part of the atmosphere that's going on here. And it's just all of us have to shake up our views and just see there are other opportunities. We came here for something different here. We didn't come here just to live a boring life, right? We came here to celebrate and have an amazing time. So that's a couple of things I wanted to mention about February. Going into March, March opens up with the sun in the 35. So again, we have this channel, the 35-36, because the North Node's in the 36 all the way into June. So anything that goes into the 35 automatically makes that channel this manifesting channel of quick change, versatility, transitoriness, here today, gone tomorrow, all these different massive changes. Do we have to keep track with all these changes? Or do we have to hold our own balance and just say, wow, a lot of things changing these days? Yeah. The eclipses that Carola talked about, the full moon eclipses in the 6 line 2. The 6 is the gateway of conflict resolution, which goes along with this whole thing. Can't we all just get along? Do we have to fight? Do we have to have... And what I see in the months of February and March, just generally in the energies there, amnesty, the energy of the month, forgiveness, get over it, move on, let go. No need to hold grudges or complications or, create more karma by just reacting the whole time. This is the time of life where we can recognize, are we just going to keep on reacting the whole time? Because of things we learned or habits we picked up along the way. And when this situation shows up, I always react the same way. Or are we going to move into engagement and just playing from our truth, from our norm? And when I say norm, I mean from our human design, like really understanding, how do things work for me? How do I make decisions that are right for me? For me, I'm not here living anybody else's life. So very, very important to see that possibility as we move into this more innocent quality in our lives. I think Mercury does another turn in March, and it does a turn in gateway number 21. So it starts us re-examining what our control systems are, how we kind of take charge of situations that don't work out right. Do we just surrender the control to everybody else, or do we take charge for ourselves, and we review that? And at the same time, the planet Uranus goes into gateway number 8. And gateway number 8 is this pooling of resources in a creative way. So a lot of possibility as we go through these first 3 months of the year. It's going to be brisk, is all I can say about it. A lot of things changing, dramatic, not dramatic, expected, not expected. But the whole thing for all of us is to keep our balance, to keep our sanity within it all. And actually, to celebrate. America is going through a second revolution. There's an extraordinary thing happening here. And a lot of the other parts of the world are doing these same celebrations as well. So much to be lived for.
So on April 1st, moving into the second quarter of the year, that mystical planet, Neptune, exits its own home sign of Pisces, where it's been for the past 15 years. So it went in Pisces first in 2011. And so it exits and will be entering Aries. So what we're going to see, we already talked about Pluto's entrance into Aquarius, and now we're looking at Neptune entering a new sign. What we're going to see is that several, an extraordinary number of the outer planets and the social planets changing signs this year, which means, it's going to be like a whole new landscape in front of us by the time we get to the middle of the year. So Neptune does that. It leaves Pisces, it goes into Aries. And the highest potential, I think, with Neptune in Aries, and it'll be there for a long time, at least 15 years, is that we learn to create our own reality from a place of connection to our inner truth. We make our vision manifest. I mean, this is what's possible to learn from this transit, which means that we also take responsibility for our creations. And the last time that Neptune was in Aries was at the turning point of the Civil War in America that marked the abolishment of slavery. So it was a huge turning point for humanity. It's big. It's a big planetary event because Neptune entering into Aries is it's a little bit like trying to mix fire and water. It might take us a few years to get, to start feeling comfortable with this one.
Hydrogen cars, it's like how do you turn water into fuel? It's all these things are happening.
Yeah. So the other turning point in the second quarter of the year is Saturn leaving Pisces, where it's been since early 2023. So Saturn's going to dip into Aries on May 25th, where it'll remain until it retrogrades, and it'll go back into Pisces on September 2nd. So Saturn's often referred to as the Lord of Karma, the planet of karma. While it's been in Pisces, it's brought us challenges to our spiritual, our religious, our existential beliefs. And as we've seen, this issue has really been playing out on the political scene, certainly in America and throughout the world, really. So what'll happen with Saturn leaving Neptune and going into Aries is that we're going to get to see, and it's only going to do that for 3 months. So it's going to dip into Aries this spring and early summer, and then it's going to turn back for one more visit into Pisces. But we're going to get a look this spring, April, May, June, of what that energy is going to be like with Saturn and Aries. Essentially, really, it's about self-actualization. It's about taking responsibility for the effect we're having in the world and for everything that we're doing that helps to create the reality that we all experience. So it's potentially powerful learning. So we'll get a little dip into that, a little introduction to that, and then Saturn will back up and finish its thorough challenges that it's been in the sign of Pisces.
Well, those, from the human design perspective, Saturn is going through all the gates in the emotional center. Yeah. So, you try and mix laws with emotion or rule systems with emotion. And we've all been having to really get meditative in our approach to things, to, as much as we can, drop reactions to things and start allowing ourselves to have more fun, if that's possible. The emotion center in the human design perspective is all about having fun. It's the center of pleasure. And so, Saturn can put a little bit of a damper on pleasure sometimes. You're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to have fun. And anyway, it's moving around in there. So from the human design perspective in April, we enter in with Mercury's just wrapping up its retrograde. It does so on the 7th. And so it starts to turn to go direct again. At the same time, Venus wraps up her retrograde on the 12th. Interestingly, on the 7th, Jupiter moves into gateway number 45 again, which is the gateway of gathering together. It's the gateway of receiving, in a sense. And I just looked, when was the last time it did this? And it was around the time of the American election. It was transiting through that 45 again, and all the way up until now. And it's basically, I could say, Jupiter is the planet of expansion. 45 is very much about resources. And it's just been fascinating watching Bitcoin pretty much double in the last, 3 or 4 weeks. And, the other crypto is doing the same thing. So I have no idea where this is all going to go. And I'm not recommending everybody buy crypto, but I am going to say for a month from the 7th of April until the 5th of May. This would also be a good time to kind of have your finger on that pulse there and see what's going on. The end of the month, we have the channel, the 2551. And again, this is the channel of initiation. I was talking about the 25 earlier on, of this whole quality of innocence. Neptune is in there. It's joined by Venus. And then various planets, one by one, will just drop into the 51 and create that channel. At the end of the month, it's Mercury. And later on, in the following months, there'll be other planets that drop in there, like Venus will go in there, and just all of a sudden we'll get these opportunities to jump out of the old and jump into the new, or reacquaint ourselves with our innocent nature, with our fun side, with our playfulness, and just to really rejoice in that. We call that channel, the 2551, the channel of initiation. It really is that thing of making a huge jump. We call it the shaman channel. The shaman persuades the tribe members of the tribe to go find your spirit animal, go to find another resource, leave home, go and find out where your strength and power is. Reacquaint yourself with your innocent nature. And when I talk about nature, nature only knows how to be natural. And the 25 can really take us back in there. So some great opportunities in April to reacquaint ourselves again with our natural qualities in life. If we go on into the merry month of May, we enter into the month in the life theme we call incarnation, coming into the flesh. And to me, it's just an extraordinary thing to remember. We're not the body. We have a body for our lifetime. We have this possibility of having this extraordinary life experience in the body. And we really need to take a look after this body. But our consciousness is not the body. The body needs to grow through the consciousness that we have. We're not the mind. The mind can think whatever it wants to think, but it's still limited in where it can go with things. Life always has new possibilities, new adventures for us. And we're not the emotions either, but it doesn't mean to say we can't have a lot of fun. Ultimately, the reminder here, coming into the life theme of incarnation, the beginning of May, the merry month of May, is reminding ourselves we are consciousness in human form. We're having this extraordinary experience. And the whole agenda is to have as much of an amazing experience as you possibly can, to be as fulfilled, to burn the candle on both ends if that's your way, but just to really celebrate in life, whatever life is offering us. We may not agree with a lot of things people do around us, but in the end, it really is up to us to appreciate. I'm here for me. I'm here for my lifetime. And whatever I can do to make my life fulfilling, to make the lives of the people around me fulfilling, to make the world around me fulfilling, then I really feel like I'm doing a good job.
And you are.
Speak for yourself. So just one more little thing. The 16th of May, the sun and the planet Uranus come together. And this is in gateway number 8. And it's gateway number 43. And this is where we start getting some extraordinary downloads, some amazing insights of things that just, where did that come from? What am I supposed to do with it? And it's not necessarily to find the answer what we're going to do with it, but just to recognize I'm getting some downloads here. This is very, very amazing.
Is that a full stop?
Well, I could go on into June.
Whatever you want to do.
All right. In June, we enter the month with the sun in the 35, the gateway of growth and increase and expansion and progress, or progress, depending on where you come from. And we enter in also with a full moon at the same time. And the full moon in the 26th, and this is the gateway of, they call it what? Possession in great measure, or not possession in great measure, but it's the most powerful gate of it in its own right. It's in the willpower center in the human design. And it's really about reevaluating things that we have in our life. Reestablishing, I'm chasing after this, does it really hold value for me? I've always been told this is a great thing to do. Am I sure about that? So great opportunity with that full moon in the beginning of June, just to really, am I really chasing after this? It's really something worthwhile. And for a brief while, we have that channel at 1222, which is the other emotional manifesting channel that gives us all kinds of opportunities to reacquaint ourselves
This is all in mid-June, yeah.
Mid-June, yeah. And it's, I'm just saying, where do I put up the roadblocks? Where do I stop myself? Where do I look at something and I can only see a brick wall when in actual fact, if I look closer, there's a perfectly good gate and a doorway and a way to go through. This is, you know, part of the watchword for 2025. There is always a way through. Yeah, always. Doesn't matter. All the rules are against you. Everything's against you. There is always a way through if you are clear that's where you need to go. And that's just the bottom line with it. In amongst all these, what we're calling tumultuous times, there's always a way.
Yeah.
So I could go into July. We enter into, sorry, again, the nodes shift, right? Very important feature here. At the 13th of June, the nodes shift. They've been in the 36, darkening of the light, where we've had to reignite the light inside ourselves. And then it moves into gateway number 22, the gateway of grace, right? And all of us really, you know, I talk about celebration, I talk about having this extraordinary life experience, to feel oneself to be very, very fortunate to have this life, you know, to get past all the, you know, oh, it's such a drag, or, you know, life's against me. Life is something that happens for us. We've been told life is something that happens to us. Turn it around, right? With the coming of the nodes into the 22, this is the gate of grace. All of us are going to start feeling very lucky around the middle of June for one reason or another. And I just say, allow yourself to be lucky, to feel that sense. Wow, I'm having such an extraordinary life experience. The whole thing may be going crazy around me, but what an incredible thing to stand in the middle of a cyclone and watch it, and to hold that balance in oneself.
And that's right. When Jupiter finishes its transit of Gemini and enters into Cancer.
Yeah. Okay, over to you, sweetheart.
All right. Well, speaking of which, approaching, you know, the end of the spring season and moving towards the summer solstice. Now we're entering the third quarter of the year. And here there's a couple of significant planetary things to mention. One is Jupiter is going to exit Gemini. It's going to enter Cancer. That happens on June 10th. And the whole time Jupiter, you know, changes signs once a year. So this isn't a huge phenomenon like Uranus or Pluto or Neptune, but significant to know because Jupiter's about how we move our experiences forward, how we're expanding in our life. It's about our beliefs, our religious, philosophical beliefs, and that human desire and need for expansion and growth. So it's been in Gemini, so it's been in this mental sign, you know, with lots of information and understanding and you know, rationalization, etc. And maybe travel and maybe meeting new people, more social, more active socially. So where Jupiter expands in Gemini is through how we connect in the environment. Well, now it's going into the sign of Cancer on June 10th. So we're going to have a different feeling to the second half of the year, where Jupiter, when it's in Cancer, what it's expanding is its sense of security and safety at home, and you know, family and home life, and it's about nurturing and really growing the parts of our life that are truly supportive for us, that really form our foundation. So it's very different energy than Gemini. So during that time, it's going to stimulate the exploration, you know, of what really brings lasting security, you know, along with maybe the consideration of the true meaning and the value really of home and family in our contemporary times where it's changing so much. So, you know, we'll have a year to take a look at that. So in that time, we seek an answer to, you know, what constitutes true security in the world that we now find ourselves in. How can we be truly secure? And if so, what is that security? And, you know, when I look at that, I see that the only security we really have is in our connection with ourselves and our connection with the divine. But, you know, it's a question for you to ask yourself. And I think that's going to come up pretty strongly right in about the middle of the year. And then, true to form in terms of the name of the year 2025 being the year of tumultuous change, Uranus, which is the planet of unexpected changes, it awakens us to higher possibilities, and it brings innovative new solutions and ideas, etc. Well, it completes its transit of Taurus, or it leaves Taurus, and it enters the sign of Gemini on July 8th. So that gives us now a 4-month-long glimpse into, it's sort of like a preview of coming attractions for the next upcoming 7 years, because Uranus will stay about 7 years in the sign. So what it's going to do is dip into Gemini for 4 months in summer, starting on July 8th, and then it's going to dip back out for one more time. And then after that, the next 7 years is going to be all in Gemini. So it's going to, again, this is a huge change in terms of, because it's a change that affects all of society, all of humanity. It's a 7-year process in which where the expansion and the changes and innovation have been more Taurean in nature in terms of, monetary systems of value, et cetera, property, that kind of thing. We'll be going more into the exploration of the realm, the bounds that we can create in terms of the whole arena of communication. In other words, will we be teleporting ourselves in the next few years?
Why not?
So it's possible. We're having these huge breakthroughs, and the breakthroughs have been coming in terms of value, in terms of stores of value, in terms of what we see as security, et cetera. Now, when we move into Gemini, it's going to be about exploring the realm of what's possible with our minds, and perhaps developing new forms of communication as well. For instance, spontaneously being able to have your voice be translated into any language so somebody else could understand it. Those kinds of things may become more the norm during this 7-year period of time. So it's exciting to see this movement, but to see it in the form it's taken this year, with all these other, Pluto making a major sign change, Neptune making a major sign change, now Uranus making one, Saturn doing, so it's, and plus the North Node axes. So we have several major planets that have to do with whole movements within society and periods of time in our life, going through making a big change, opening a whole new doorway this year. So all the first half and all the way through the summer of 2025, we're just going to be continuing to see this theme of tumultuous change. And we will, towards the end of the summer, also will have another Mercury retrograde. That's going to happen July 18th to August 11th. And that'll just give us an opportunity to review some of the creative breakthroughs and planned new endeavors that maybe we'd be implementing later in the year. And then should I go into the third quarter, or you want to go there first?
I'm ready to go. I just have one or two things to say about the month of August.
Okay.
Things that really caught my eye in August. I mean, there's a lot going on. We have various channels by definition. Mercury's done its turn through some of the voice gates, again, reevaluating how we describe things. But the thing that really caught my eye was the full moon on the 9th of August, which is in gateway number 13 and the 4th line. When you look in the I Ching, you end up finding particular gates and lines that really grab your attention. And the 4th line with the 13 is the one I call the whisperer. We have dog whisperers and cat whisperers and horse whisperers. But the 13 with the 4th line is the way of instantly attuning with anybody. And with the full moon in there, there's just that consequence of just realizing I'm open to communication in a way that I don't remember having before. There's this fabulous word apocalypse, which everyone has concluded means the end of the world, it's major disaster. But in actual fact, you go right back to the source of the word. It means raising the veil. Raising the veil. right? Between this and that. And all of a sudden, our vision of life and our experience in life transforms immediately. And so this possibility of being able to hear things on a very, very profound level when nobody's actually saying something, literally picking up what's going on with other people and the people around us, and feeling where we can, what can I say, become fellowship with mankind, which is this gateway's name in source, the 13 gateway fellowship with mankind, the listener. We're here to listen to each other. Yeah. And we move on into September, and then this movement, this dramatic movement of Uranus into Gemini, we see it gets to so far into Gemini in the 20th gateway, which is the gateway of now. Again, a fascinating gateway, gate 20. It literally is a gateway, and the gateway is a neutral space. It's between here and there. It's in the middle, it's neutral. And so Uranus is in this place. You might say it does this station in a neutral space for several days. And Uranus brings the unusual, the unexpected anyhow. So I'm just going to say around the 5th of September, we'll all have that possibility to find ourselves in the gap. There was before and there's after. We're not quite sure where we are right now. And again, this possibility to step up and to equate ourselves in life in a very, very different way. The Sun and Mercury and the South Node all join together in gateway number 47 for a while. And the 47 is this gateway of trying to make sense out of life. I think most of us realize by now life doesn't make sense. It's neither logical nor supposed to make sense. It just is. It does what it does. We have all ways of connecting into it and trying to decipher it. But there's that kind of point in time in the middle of the month of September where we just have this point of, wow, I'm amazed. The bounds of possibilities are being pushed. I can't keep up with it in some way. And wow, what an amazing time to be alive. Going on to the merry month of October, just briefly, Pluto has been going retrograde and it's finished now in gate number 60, sixth line. On the 13th of October, it starts going direct again. And again, the transformation, we've had a review of all the changes that have been so dramatic in this year. And now we're going back forward towards gateway number 41 again, which is that fresh start. Remember, sitting by the fire, putting the last pieces of wood on the fire. How can I imagine life's going to be in the year or the years coming for me? What's my vision? What's my imagination telling me? So, right. Mm-hmm. All things are possible. Mm. We are pushing the bounds of possibility.
We are indeed. So we'll wrap up with just a bit of a look at the third quarter of the year, which you've already kind of gone into there. So we have these two eclipses in September. So another change point, one eclipse, a lunar eclipse on September 7th at 15 degrees of Pisces, and then followed by a solar eclipse at 29 degrees of Virgo on September 21st. So, eclipses bring changes for everyone, for all of us. But they're more significant changes for people who have personal planets or social planets, like the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars are the personal planets. Jupiter and Saturn, the social planets. Any of those planets that you have them within a few degrees of the eclipse point, and that aspect of your life is going to be changing really significantly. So if you have planets somewhere near 15 degrees of Pisces or somewhere near 29 degrees of Virgo, or, you could say the middle of Pisces Virgo and the end of Pisces Virgo is another way to say that. But it could be planets anywhere within 1 to 3 degrees either side. Then the eclipse will be particularly meaningful for you in your life. These are the kinds of things that happen that signal big life changes, picking up and moving to a different country. Doing like major changes when we've got an eclipse right on a personal point in our chart. So regardless of that, the rest of us who don't have planets right there, in any case, the changes that are indicated by this set of eclipses is going to be to our, challenging to our capacity to open to our light and allow that divine wisdom that we are to come through us so that we're not living out of just our preconditioned filters, but we're seeing life really clearly, and we're living life from a really clear place. So, I mean, that's the potential of those eclipses if we're awake and paying attention.
Big factor.
Yeah. And then for the remainder of the year, this is going to be a period of consolidation and kind of integration. So the planetary energies earlier in the year were, bringing these far-reaching changes, big, huge sign changes, and opening humanity to all kinds of new possibilities. And now, at this point, as we get towards the last few months of the year, some consolidations needed, some integration is needed. So we've got planets now that we're moving forward, retrograding back into the placement that they were before they did that big leap. So Saturn's going to take a final dip into Pisces, for instance, starting September 2nd, before it goes finally into Aries. And then Neptune's going to retrograde back out of Aries into Pisces. It's going to do that on October 22nd. And that'll be followed by Uranus retrograding out of Gemini and back into Taurus. So we've had these big, huge planetary shifts into a completely new reality. And we've, moving forward in that reality for a number of months in the first really 2/3 of the year. And then we come to a point of, okay, now there needs to be some consolidation, some integration. So those outer planets going back and forth like that give us an opportunity to integrate everything we're learning before we move forward. So that's a lot of what we're going to be experiencing in the latter part of the year, of this really phenomenal year. During most of the fourth quarter of the year, much of the huge, forward momentum that was happening earlier in the year, all that big push to move and change, and that just sort of abates, and we begin to work on maybe more systematically work on implementation, rather than just continuing to have breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough. So a time to slow down, consolidate a bit. But certainly during the year 2025, we will indeed, all of us, be pushing the bounds of possibility. And it's going to be an exciting year. We're going to be thrilled to be with you. Of course, we're with you every month in our Energies and Opportunities broadcast. And also, we invite you to journey with us to learn how to use the universal timing and the energies of the year to most readily experience your own success and fulfillment in life. So that's our Energies and Opportunities in 2025 program that's on pre-sale now through the weekend. So take a look at it, and if you feel inspired, join us.
Please do join us. 2025, what an amazing time to be alive, right? Just write it out. Have an amazing time. Anytime you feel yourself getting a bit rattled, take a deep breath. Is it really worth my energy? Maybe there's something else on offer here. So we look forward to seeing you throughout 2025 and for our broadcast for January as well. So do join us. And
many blessings.
Many blessings indeed. Bye for now.